What's up, guys, and welcome back to the NoShang Invitational. We're in Game 2 in the best-of-3 lower bracket between Kaipi and NoLifer5. I'm Mikelorus, going to be joined by MRP for this second game, and maybe the third, if Kaipi can pull it together, because that Game 1 was, let's say, not convincing. Dude, what are your thoughts on Game 1?
Yeah, just kind of a lack of sharp playing from Kaipi. Felt like some good play early on from Mad and Bambo, but then Mad just started to kind of overstay his welcome on the enemy side of the map. Bone 7 was not nearly diligent enough about keeping down his remnants when he was split pushing, and they had the right idea. They itemized properly, I felt, and even the last team fight of the game went fairly well for them. I mean, situationally, like things just went well. They picked the Aegis off early enough, but it just felt like just a lack of good execution from them. They definitely had potential to take that game over and just were unable to do so. So for NoLifer side, I mean, well drafted and well played altogether. And it does feel like they were given over a few of their objectives through missteps, specifically at the Roche bit from Kaipi, but you can't take any credit away from them. They drafted and played towards the strengths of their draft.
And at the same time, they're keeping Kaipi off of their own comfort zone, and they're going to do it yet again, getting rid of this tempo hero of the Beastmaster, getting rid of the Io, who, if Kaipi had in the last game, would have been in a much more comfortable position, just playstyle-wise, and would have definitely kept NL5 off their own game plan. Someone's like mowing their lawn or something outside, so it might get a little bit loud on my end, guys. Apologies for that. But yeah, Witch Doctor first pick from Kaipi is certainly an interesting one. I'm okay with Witch Doctor in response to like an Enchantress opening or something like that, but they banned out Enchantress, grabbed Witch Doctor first, just to, I guess, keep their options open, and that's about it.
So do we see a Prophet Chen opening again from NoLifer? I mean, I guess the Witch Doctor is a pseudo counter to the Chen, at least early on, but I don't really feel like NoLifers are gonna go away from what works for them just because of this early Witch Doctor pick. So in that sense, I gotta agree with you that it's really not the scariest first phase pickup. I mean, your Earth Spirit, your Enchantress, Invoker, IO, Beastmaster, Chen are usually going to run out the first phase, and potentially a Doom or Bounty Hunter pickup. But yeah, Witch Doctor is not something we've seen all that often in this first phase, and I'm not sure that it's really worth the first phase pickup. Sure, it takes some potential sustain away from a push lineup, but regardless, just doesn't feel all that powerful in this very first pickup phase. And Kaipi, they're going to pick up definitely one of Bambo's signature heroes, but it's going to be into that Vengeful Spirit already.
I was going to mention perhaps you open up with the Witch Doctor, you plan on getting a Faceless Void after you pick up like an Invoker second or something like that, but it seems like, though that is still possible with the Batrider mid, it's more and more unlikely now. Witch Doctor and Batrider do work pretty decently together as well. You just grab someone, Death Ward them, and most of the time you're going to get that kill, but this is grabbing Batrider into a Vengeful Spirit, which is, of course, not without its own risk. The opening for Kaipi, outside of it just being comfortable heroes, isn't really overtly strong. As far as what NL5 are running, this can pretty much be the exact same game plan from Game 1.
Yeah, it seems like their opening is definitely indicating that direction, at least. They're very good at taking Roshan. Once again, with this opening, they can definitely look to push. They're maybe a tad weaker in lanes if they pick up a jungler alongside the Vengeful Spirit and the Chen, but it really doesn't feel all that different, as you mentioned, from Game 1, and already they have some good ways to deal with the opening from Kaipi. So we'll see how they fare going forward. Oracle ban is warranted when you have a Batrider, but when there's already a Vengeful Spirit on NoLifer side, I don't really know that they'd have to go for a support like that over perhaps the jungling Chen. So Kaipi, it seems like they feel like they deal with it better. They have the Cask and they have the Firefly, so they're going to leave the Chen in the pool through this second phase, but Sven ban is going to come out. And this is something that we alluded to in the first matchup, is that NoLifers do really like this Night Stalker pick, especially when the Beastmaster is, one, removed from the pool, or two, picked by the other side. So in this case, it's going to be removed from the pool, and that's likely going to mean that the Vision game, that War of Attrition, will be in the favor of NoLifers, at least in the mid to later phases of the game. It still, though, remains to be seen whether they put this NS in the 3 role or the 4.
And Night Stalker, when it is in that mid to late game phase, really good up against the Batrider. Like, good luck initiating on a Night Stalker when you have like no vision, that's always going to be a problem. The Night Stalker is always going to see you coming if he has his Aghanim Scepters. So NL5 looking to craft pretty much the perfect tempo push type of draft, and Kaipi kind of walking right into it. Spectre, definitely a powerful hero if she's actually able to get a decent start. And it seems like that may be the case here. One of Kaipi's kind of sit back and split push type heroes, very consistent with what they had going for them last game. I fear though maybe a little bit too passive. Clearly NL5 want to bring the heat and they want to bring it in real hard, and for Kaipi they have even less wave clear than they had in the last game. I guess they're not going to need quite as much since they're going up against just Nature's Prophet, not Nature's Prophet and Chen, but NL5 they're doing the exact same thing as in game 1, and Kaipi haven't really adjusted at all. Like the Batrider initiation is kind of nice, I suppose, but that's not even a guaranteed factor given there's eventual spirit on the other end.
I guess you could call this a quasi adjustment for them, giving Sing Sing to Zeus as opposed to the Invoker, who's still available in the pool. We saw Sing Sing kind of just quietly find farm all game long and never really contributed himself to a fight until it was a base defense. Other than that, he was throwing out a lot of sunstrikes and gaining a lot of assists and kills via that, but wasn't really able to kind of sit near these tower defenses and look to mount them with his team. And now it seems like they'll swap roles with Bone 7 and Sing Sing. Sing Sing will be the one kind of defending alongside the other 4, and Bone 7 will try to be across the map, but he's not going to split push as well as he would have perhaps on that Ember Spirit or that Invoker would have. So yeah, I don't know that Kaipi have adjusted enough, and to some extent I have to agree with you there. They're not very good at taking Roshan either, and that is going to be one of the linchpins of NoLifer's lineup, is finding that Aegis. They fight decently around the pit, which could help them out. We saw them take a really bad engagement, and now having the Batrider and the Haunt and the Thunder God's Wrath to open them up before there's a Night Stalker Aghanims, Rosh is going to be a bit of a dicey proposition for NoLifers. But I mean, they're not just going to look to blindly walk into the pit. They're going to try and find a pick and then do it. So yeah, I think Kaipi can deal with that one aspect maybe of NoLifer's lineup, but it would be very it'd be very odd for me to see them go into it before finding at least a 1 hero advantage. And even so, they have both the Sprout on the high ground and the Wave of Terror for vision, and to try and cancel Batrider blinks while they're doing the Roche. So it's not as easy as it seems on paper, just as much of a jump in and a lasso from a bat.
Perhaps now like a Death Prophet type pickup if NL5 really want to go deep in the early game, try to get under the Spectre. They can probably afford to grab a Wind Ranger again if they really want to do that. I see no reason not to. The mid lane doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of interference, at least from the Kaipi end. It's all those heavy roamers are pretty much eliminated at this point. Bounty Hunter is out, Earth Spirit out first phase, Night Stalker on the other end. So this mid lane for NL5 is looking really rather safe. And Ember Spirit is going to be the hero to kind of capitalize on that. Kind of an interesting deviation from the NL5 squad in this last pick. Not really a hero usually associate with being aggressive and trying to go ahead and get those kills early on. But we saw in the last game, they only had a little bit of a lead. Then they kind of switched to their contingency plan. And it seems like they're going to set themselves up for a very similar thing in the second game.
Yeah, the itemization definitely spoke that they could scale later into the game. And Ember Spirit, he is a hero that can get very aggressive around the 10-minute mark when he starts to pick up his level 4s and a few of his basic skills. But I think the one worry for NoLifers here is that once they want to push, they are going to need the mechanism on the Nature's Prophet. And we saw Napoleoshiga being able to go for kind of a more carry-oriented build. Despite picking up the Orchid, he had some right-click on top of that. He was able to get a Blink Dagger to jump in with the Orchid on top of Bone 7's Ember Spirit. So in this one, it feels like if they want to push, they're going to need that mechanism on the Prophet. And for that reason, he's not going to scale as well. But regardless, NoLifers, they're going to have both the Juggernaut and the Ember Spirit in the late game. So as you mentioned, the insurance policy has certainly been assembled for them. And the Spirit Breaker for Mad, I mean, it's going to continue to kind of go to this global pick-off potential theme. Spectre, Zeus, SB, Batrider, all very mobile across the map. So they will be able to try and find their numbers advantage that way, and that's pretty much going to be blindly or sort of very blatantly the plan for Kaipi, is to find picks and continue to delay out the timing of this push, extend it into the late game, pick up some of their key items, get their Spectre fat, maybe grab up an Aghanims on the Batrider, which is a very good pseudo counter to the Vengeful Spirit being behind your lasso target, and look to take the game in that phase. But NL5, even more so than in game one, as you mentioned, feel like there's no slouches at all in the late game, and actually perhaps scale even better than Kaipi with the Prophet, the Jugger, and the Ember Spirit, as well as a potential semi carry coming out from the Night Stalker.
Like, you consider that Night Stalker is just so good up against Batrider, specifically in the late game, and Batrider just naturally isn't as good in the late game, and well, I mean, it's even worse given that there's a Night Stalker and a Vengeful Spirit there. So Kaipi, they clearly do have this game plan of just sit back and kind of wait. Like, they'll get pickoffs when they can, but as far as breaking the base, it's not going to happen unless they somehow find themselves with a really big early game lead, which I don't see happening. NL5 probably have the edge of taking these tier 1s. Going for tier 2s, optional but possible. Then they can just chill. And for Kaipi's squad, it's like, where is the point where they're much, much stronger than NL5? The only point I see is when the point immediately after Batrider picks up his Blink Dagger. He needs to get like 2 or 3 kills with that, and then maybe Kaipi can just barely get an advantage and hold that advantage, maybe shut down a hero like Ember Spirit or Juggernaut, just prevent them from farming. But there's really no giant phase in this game where it's like, okay, between minutes X and Y, this is Kaipi's window to do like whatever the hell they want. That just doesn't exist in this game.
And I think you touch on the very key point, is that they're terrible at pushing buildings. So although, towards their level sixes, I give Kaipi a definite 5-man edge. NL5, even if they lose a hero or two, they can split push with both the Ember and the Natures. They scale very well, as we mentioned earlier. They team fight not bad as well. I mean, they may not be nearly as strong as, a Zeus Spectre lineup, but they will take team fights throughout the course of the game, and they're just much better at taking objectives off the back of those wins. So to some extent, I feel like Kaipi are outdrafted in this game a lot more than they were in game one. I feel like they had a lot of answers for the push, and we mentioned it throughout the game in game one that they had definite windows and opportunities, routes to come back into this one, but it doesn't feel like they'll gain a big advantage from the lanes. It does feel like that when they do have their key first round of items come up, particularly with that Bat Blink Dagger, that they can find picks, but I'm not all that sure that they can translate it into any more than tier 1s. So I worry here for Kaipi to be able to mount an advantage and really run with it. I definitely feel like, with the Batrider Blink, they find picks, but I just don't know that it'll be enough. NL5 are pretty damn good on the back foot as a 5-man squad, especially, as we mentioned, if they get up the vision from the Night Stalker.
And Night Stalker is going to be working with a boots first opening, going right now towards the bottom lane, dual laning it up at least for a little bit with this Nature's Prophet. May see an early Iron Talon. Night Stalker probably can get away with that, just sitting back in the jungle, doesn't have to worry about all that much. But for right now, man, he's going to be kind of sneaky with Mikelorus. I don't really think there's that much they could do aggressively here, at least not right now, but come level 2, level 3, then this Spectre's life's going to get a lot more difficult. Speaking of difficult, towards top lane, Pupper already getting forced out, no charge leveled up by Mad, hoping for that 17%. It's going to roll unluckily, but we have 2v2 lanes on the side, which of course means that mid 1v1 should be pretty heavily Zeus favored. Even though Ember Spirit's shield, I mean, this is, I guess, kind of nice for sustain, it's not something he could really keep up consistently defensively.
I kind of understand the proposition that, you want to be putting pressure into the face of the Spectre, but I'm not a big fan of this decision from NL5 to run their dual lanes. I feel like their Juggernaut is a little too susceptible to the early game Spirit Breaker, and that Napoleoshka would have been okay in this lane, and just with the cask and maybe a charge in, he more than likely can TP out without a lucky bash. So I feel like he soaks up a good amount of experience, can retreat to the jungle always if it's going poorly, as he is a Nature's Prophet, and maybe the Night Stalker's services are better used in that top lane where he can ensure that his Juggernaut finds a little bit more farm. But on the flip side, I really like the decision from Kaipi to put some pressure into this Juggernaut with anytime you have Batrider plus some form of disable, it's always a very scary lane.
Especially just a hero that is going to have a lot more damage output when the enemy is slowed down, like Spirit Breaker, just constantly getting more rolls in that greater bash, which of course means that more napalm can stack up, more firefly damage. It is a very, very big snowball I can get going really quickly. Now Come With Me is going to get almost blocked, not quite fat enough as this Nature's Prophet. He has to eat more, but Come With Me, either way, is going to take quite a bit of damage. Ziggy Bone 7 as well. He's going to get chased out by Night Stalker and Nature's Prophet. Back, they're still going. South forced out already. That's already a pretty big win. Are they going to get the last hit? No, I don't think they are. Napoleon is going to be first blood. And that will be that. Kaipi barely getting away from that almost disastrous situation with Come With Me. But it is going to be a pretty nice win here for the Kaipi side. And as you said, there's not that much upside to this NL5 dual offlane. And now that they've already suffered a death here, is it time to just dissolve this lane entirely?
Yeah, we talked about early on that it didn't seem like on paper that Kaipi would have a big advantage in the laning stage, but there's potential for it here. And with that early start, especially with the Nature's Prophet not being as highly leveled as he would want to be, it's certainly boding well. Charge going to come through top lane. Mad probably just going to back off here and will elect to do so. The Night Stalker now will return to the top lane, which definitely seems a little stronger here for NL5 and can allow them to at least cancel some charges with a Void and allow Pubber to find some more farm. And once again, just don't feel like Napoleoshka is all that vulnerable in this bottom lane. So mid lane though, Rune will get the chains off onto the impending charge from Mad, and Mad for that reason is going to be out of mana. He's going to try to battle up with this Ember Spirit, and Spirit Breaker, one of the better heroes at doing this in the early game, but I mean when you're 3 levels behind Mad, you got to be careful with this. And that, wow, they will just tick out the Flame Guard just in the nick of time to save their Spirit Breaker with all the Zeus damage, and Sing Sing with the second bolt through Rune. He's going to be jumping a little bit too far forward, so effectively Mad will be successful mid lane, gonna net his Zeus a kill.
Hook, line, and sinker, really. They didn't expect the Witch Doctor to be there. Otherwise, Ember Spirit maybe just gets out of there, or makes Sing spend at least a little bit more damage, so a little more mana rather, just trying to finish off that Ember Spirit. Still, it's going to be 2 kills for the Kaipi side, and these are much needed kills, really. Like as I said earlier, unless they get really disgustingly far ahead for whatever reason, they're going to be in an awkward spot in this game just given their draft. And this is a pretty decent start at becoming super far ahead, although we're not quite there yet. Zeus getting a little bit of a free time close to that level 6 opens so many more doors when you have a Spirit Breaker on your own side. The problem is for Sing at this point, it's darkness. He does have an Observer Warp, which is going to spot out the Night Stalker, but this is not a super comfortable place for a Zeus to be. Even though it's just a level 2 Night Stalker, there's just so much threat here once this Ember Spirit gets level 6.
Yeah, Napoleoshka, he finds his level 5, and Bambo, he's going to look to do the same shortly here. It's kind of the story again of game 1 as Pubber's a little bit under fire, but Napoleoshka, he TP's deep here mid lane. The Night Stalker's going to come through, but the Thunder God's Wrath with the bolt finishes him quickly. Rune, he's in trouble now has to dodge to the south, trying to bring down Sing Sing, but the Witch Doctor's nearby with this Voodoo Restoration, and he's now out of mana. Ember Spirit, it looked like he needed to just bail on the mid lane, but he hangs around far too long, and they'll get 2 kills for nothing, essentially, mid lane. And they may even find themselves with a third here with a lucky bash. He will get up to the high ground. There's the bash. There's a Sprout still available. TP on cooldown. Mad will look to back off as he finds himself a bit deep behind enemy lines. And I mean, that kill comes as soon as the first nighttime comes as well. So it just doesn't feel like Blizzy on this Night Stalker is going to be all that effective here, already a minute and a half into his first nighttime.
And that's just NL5 getting way too aggressive there. I guess they didn't necessarily know that there was an Observer Ward that the Night Stalker was standing on. Yet that being said, you're trying to dive a level 6 Zeus with a level 2 hero. Even though that hero is Night Stalker, that's still a really, really hard sell for that Night Stalker. And teleporting in the Nature's Prophet there, really just disrespecting the damage power that the Zeus can pump out, or maybe overestimating the damage that Ember Spirit can pump out in just a small 2v1 skirmish. Yeah, they can kill off the Zeus and be done with that fairly quickly, but just knowing that Kaipi are going to be able to reinforce the TPs, that's just like a big issue in and of itself. You know, there's a Spirit Breaker who's going to be charging around, who has been charging around for a long time. It's NL5 getting a little bit too aggressive, a little bit too early on. I mean, they could go for these tower pushes, as we said in the draft, but that doesn't really happen until a little bit later, since they really do lack that Chen-esque hero to just give them that automatic meat shield to absorb those tower shots. So they need a pick off beforehand, and diving for it is not really the most attractive solution. Going for the smoke is, however. Come With Me is going to take a random shockwave because Satyrs You know, they hate Witch Doctors. Everyone knows that if you read the lore. But now they're going to get a good angle on the Witch Doctor, who is going to... Oh, Magic Missile to the wrong one. The cast bounce is going to chain stun 2 heroes continuously. They're not even going to try to go for the Spectre. They're going to go for the Witch Doctor, but everything misses. Oh, man. Come with me. I think that was luck. I want to say that was luck for the Magic Missile, but who knows? Now fucking Mad is going to come in. Thunder God's Wrath plus the Haunt. Sing Sing, where is he actually going to land? He's going to, the Spectre rather, he's going to land right on the Vengeful Spirit. Now they're going to grab Pubber with the lasso. Everyone beating down on this Juggernaut. He may Omni Slash here with the Wrath of Nature. He'll actually grab a kill. But good luck getting out of this one. There's Phase Boots on the Spectre. They'll chop him down, and that should just be that. Ultimately, not as bad for NL5 as it really looked in the beginning. But, man, Kaipi getting off to a roaring start in the second game.
Yeah, and well, they will find Mrpdota here though with a bolt. Second one going to come off in just a second. Magic Missile is there onto Sing. Sing's a little bit out of position here. Searing Chains will land. Another right click will finish him off. He's not able to bring down the Nature's Prophet. It's a nice kill on the back end for NL5. And one thing I was going to mention, you saying it didn't go as bad for NL5. They would have lost the Juggernaut had he not TP'd bottom in just a second. Mad was charging up. The lasso was ready as well from Bambo. And that, for me, has kind of been the story of the early game, is that they're looking for these skirmishes, but Come With Me's rotations have always been there, as just the Nature's Prophet doesn't pressure the safe laner in the Spectre as much as the Bat Rider is pressuring Pubber. So they were unable to rotate in the Vengeful Spirit for the first 5 or 6 minutes, and the first rotation of the Venge bottom does net them a decent trade when all is said and done, especially with the Sing on the back end. But, you know, the start is definitely subpar altogether for NL5, and Rune will get a chains off onto Mad, keep him at bay mid lane, but it does feel like Kaipi are still very comfortable with where this game is, and especially with Bone 7 picking up the kill on the Juggernaut in the bottom lane.
I mean, yeah, for the NL5 side, it almost seems like they have the right idea, like pressure the Spectre, but they're going too aggressively for that goal. Ended up backfiring, and now they're in a position where they can't pressure the Spectre anymore because they tried to do it a little bit too early. Just such a delicate, minuscule timing in that, but now it's really, really costing them, and it's going to cost them a little bit more. Bambo, under very little pressure throughout this entire game, is looking at a fairly quick Blink Dagger. Not the fastest for sure, but given that he was pressuring the top lane the entire time, you could certainly be doing a lot worse as a Bat Rider in an off lane, going pretty much not at all into his own jungle, so freeing that up for his buddies to be farming in the meantime. So once that happens, NL5 are going to be in a much worse position. Speaking of bad positions, Thunder God's Wrath Haunt up towards the top lane. Night Stalker already super low. They're going to spin down Mad really low as well. The damage with the right click is going to be there. Now the jump in from Runek. They're going to catch Bone 7. With a Flame Break, he's going to get a little bit of space. With the Omni Slash, they will eliminate all that space. Cask, once again, going to bounce through. Chain Stun a couple heroes. The Polyoshka is constantly Chain Stun. Now bolted down by Sing, who teleported in. Now they're on to Pubber. He's going to spin away all those tar stacks, and he will get himself out to freedom. It's a 2-for-2 trade ultimately. Spectre gives her life for it. That is expensive. Kaipi also bring that Haunt cooldown. That is something that you really don't want to be without.
Yeah, and they also get very lucky with the cask as well. Feels like to some extent maybe Napoleoshka is able to get out if the cask didn't bounce so nicely. But yeah, maybe a slight bit of an overextension on Kaipi's part. Just not grouping up as enough heroes with the Thunder God's Wrath and the Haunt, and they don't use the lasso on top of it. So, you know, Thunder God's Wrath, Haunt, and take a hero out of the engagement for that 3 seconds at level 1 is, I think, more than enough to guarantee you a team fight early on. But just without that lasso being available, perhaps just, you know, as you said before in NL5's case, overestimating their damage potential. So Mad bot lane could get silenced up and brought down here, but Night Stalker playing it very safely, going to back himself away. Mad, though, he seems to have sniffed this out. He's going to pop the Empowering Haste active and make it back to apparent safety. Rune is going to have his smoke pop here, so he's well aware of the positioning of Mad, but looks like this Spirit Breaker will find his solace here. Come with me, top lane. Could be a little bit far forward. Napoleoshka is going to look to find him. He's going to pop off the Death Ward, and it's actually going to block him out. Juggernaut. Barely able to survive. Thunder God's Wrath will finish him, though. Well worth it for Come With Me. That was beautifully played.
That was pretty sick. Come With Me's been playing pretty darn well. Sometimes luckily with those cast bounces that we've seen just be absolutely ridiculous in this game, but yeah, there is actually collision size to Death Ward, which is rarely ever relevant, but sometimes, man, sometimes it's going to make a free pick on the Witch Doctor turn into a 1-for-1 trade in favor of Kaipi. Taking out the Juggernaut is no small deal. Now they're onto the bottom lane. Sing is there with Mad. Smoked up. They're going to charge in onto the Night Stalker with the Haunt in there as well. Night Stalker's going to get bolted down and immediately dropped. Lots of damage, of course, from this Zeus with that Ether Lens. Looking at Zayak as well, don't really have enough to kill him off. They reduced Thunder God's Wrath earlier, but Kaipi, they have staved off this early aggression from NL5. They now have the Blink Dagger on the Bat Rider. And for NL5, they've gotten very little in the way of structural damage, and Mikelorus up towards top lane might even be in a little bit of trouble here. There's no Blink Dagger in the Bat Rider just yet, but the charge plus the Dagger is going to mean that Mikelorus cannot sprout and TP out. He's going to need help. Runic going to arrive, but that may be a little bit too late. Mikelorus is already down. Runic going to try to go for Bamboo. Void will get the kill, but he can't get it off in time. He's going to instead cast it onto Mad. With spin there, they'll kill off the Spirit Breaker, and now they're looking for Bone 7. Stuck in the trees, he'll have a Dagger to go over the river, through the woods, and he is free and clear. Nature's Prophet ultimately does fall in exchange for the Spirit Breaker. NL5, they reinforce decently, all things considered.
Yeah, for Kaipi though, they're finding trades across the map. They've got the full blink up onto Bamboo, who's able to make out. He's got an Arcane pop, so looking to use this lasso top lane with that extra bit of cooldown reduction. And they're gonna rotate in Sing Sing as well. Pubber's a great target here. Charge is coming through. Thunder God's Wrath, Bolt, dead Juggernaut. They don't need the Spirit Breaker for that kill. And beautifully played here from Kaipi's side. Jumping forward, looking for more. Flame Break's going to be there to knock back Zayak. He's going to have to turn for a stun, but with this slowed turn rate, he doesn't even have a chance. And his comrade in Blizzy not able to get nearly there in time. Bambo going to go for a ride and find himself a couple of kills here. 13 minutes in with the reveal of his Blink Dagger. All of a sudden, 1,300 gold now. Deep Ward is going to facilitate this charge forward. It's a tanky target, though, in Blizzy and Mad. Yeah, he'll decide to pull back on this one.
No faith in his 17% rolls. I'm a little bit disappointed, but either way, 13-6, and the only way that Kaipi run into some issues at this point is if they, start being a little bit too over-aggressive when they don't have their assets up. That's you need Lasso, you need Thunder God's Wrath, you need Haunt. Maybe pick 2 out of 3. You don't need all of them all at the same time, but making those suicidal plays, giving gold to the Ember Spirit, giving gold to the Juggernaut, we can very easily see NL5 get back in should Kaipi start to get a little bit careless, as we did see in the last game. So there's precedent for that, at least some precedent for that. NL5, they're still looking for these small skirmishes. They're going to smoke up as a big squad. They're going to get a good angle onto Kaipi, at least onto Mad. He's all alone. Wrath of Nature's going to bounce through. The Haunt's going to give them full vision. However, they're still going for Mad with the Omni Slash. That won't quite do it. Now the cast is going to start bouncing. Mad still will fall, but in the back end, Mikelorus goes grab with the net, and he'll die to the Spectre. Couple things up on the high ground. He's going to have to deal with the Ember Spirit, and Thunder God's Wrath is going to come out. The reinforcements from the Radiant are coming in onto Zayak, but Runic's already going to cut through the Witch Doctor. Blink forward from Bamboo. Can take out the Healing Ward, now slowing down Zayak just a little bit. And that'll be enough to kill off the Vengeful Spirit. 2 for 2 is the ultimate trade. And again for NL5, I mean, they can't really call this a decisive win, but they're pulling out these cooldowns of Kaipi, in fact, all the big ones, and not really taking a decisive loss. And there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, they do get the Omni Slash baited out, or they do use the Omni Slash, excuse me. So I feel like that small skirmish favors NL5. They don't get 2 very big targets, and it was well played by Zayak to run to the south to ensure that his core still survives in the Juggernaut. So Bambo, using that lasso early, seems to may have hurt them a bit, but Rune, there's going to be a charge, and Mad may run into Pubber here. We'll look to try and find the Courier. Not sure what he's doing. He gets the ward up on the high ground. Magic Missile, though. He'll pay for this with... And does not have a charge away. He'll drop the Nether Strike, try to juke, but... Yeah, Mad. He's going to get dropped, but it does seem he's maybe able to drop down that ward without them really knowing. So at least gives his squad a little bit of intel. Going for that play without Mad or without Bamboo at his side is a bit overzealous, it feels. But the lasso, speaking of which, is going to be cooling down here in bot lane. They're showing the Nature's Prophet, who's a very susceptible hero to that initiation. Sing nearby as well. See if they're able to find fruit here, though. Shoving the top lane momentarily with Spectre, but no one really showing for the Dire. So Radiant playing a bit scared on the map, as you would expect them to. And Pub are going to rotate through top lane. 15 seconds until that Omni Slash is available. Charge going to come through from the Vengeful Spirit. They got glimpse with that Northern Ward, and the cask. It's now going to bounce through nicely. Pubber will get the spin off, but it'll give enough time for Come With Me to get out towards his unit. And now the Haunt is going to come through as well. Ziggy, Bone 7, he's going to jump forward a little bit early, but now he will be covered by Matt. A couple more right clicks. They get the Vengeful Spear with ease. Napolioshka was able to TP out. Meanwhile, mid lane, they're shoving it in, but the Spectre has TP'd in, has an Urn Charge available. They should have Mad to be able to come through pretty quickly. Bambo, he gets nicely played. He gets Sleight of Fist chained there, but Blizzy will not be so lucky on the Night Stalker. He's going to be brought down. They do get Rune out, but it's 2 clean kills going KP's way, and we still are seeing the weakness of this lineup rear its ugly head. I mean, it's 17-9. They have a decisive lead, but they still only have 1 tier 1 tower. Meanwhile, Sing Sing, he's dead top lane as he sticks around far too long. Bot lane, though, Pubber, they may get maybe arguably a very valuable kill. I wouldn't say more valuable than Sing Sing, but it's going to be a nice one for Kaipi to pick up. And if you consider the other 2 happenstances recently, then overall, Kaipi certainly pretty happy with this trade. But still, they're yet to take objectives off the back of these kills. And maybe now can mount up to look for this bot lane tower, but it's still very healthy, and they just don't have all that much pushing power as 5.
Even though they can't kill off these towers, just getting these kills just so worth it, especially for the Spectre, who makes it so that once you get your Relic, which I assume he's going to go for, makes it so much easier to get those decisive 4-for-1s, 5-for-1s down the line, or even 5-for-nils down the line, and opens up the door for the kind of slower pushing in the little bit of a later stage. And even though we mentioned NL5, like, they will have decent answers to deal with the vast majority of Kaipi's heroes, Spectre is not going to run into any hard counters necessarily, outside of just being outdamaged by an Ember Spirit and Juggernaut, both of whom maybe having a little bit of issues surviving in this game. Night Stalker as well, having a really tough time playing a little bit too aggressively in that bottom lane earlier, is going to be nowhere close to an Aghanim Scepter in this game. Darkness still going to be potentially relevant up against the Batrider, but NL5, they're trying to just split push out Kaipi's squad, and Kaipi are really just juggling their ultimates really darn well, using their TP scrolls, their haunts, their Blink Batriders just to almost perfection, trying to deal with these NL5 heroes. And so far, every single rat attempt from NL5 has been squashed. Now, for Night Stalker, no, it's actually going to be over towards Runeck. They're going to grab him, haunt him with the Force Staff back. That's a dead Ember Spirit. And Ziggy's going to go for a little more. Napolioshka is going to sprout himself up. No disables here. Flame Break's going to come, but it's a little bit too late. Now Bone 7 in the front is going to get Omni Slash, which will bounce over to Bambo. That's lucky for him, but he's going to get swapped back. Bone 7 still will fall. Cast now going to start bouncing through with the Death Ward. Night Stalker is tanky, but not that tanky. He's going to fall. Pubber is going to get bashed as well. With the Death Ward still being channeled, he's going to give Come With Me a double kill. And Polish is going to return to this fight, trying to take down this Witch Doctor, but I don't think he has enough gas in the tank there, because Sing still has mana to burn. He's going to burn it all onto Zayak. He's going to turn around for a wave. That's not going to help him. Couple more right clicks. They'll take down the Vengeful Spirit, and Kaipi, yes, they lose their Spectre, but they survive with 3 other heroes, and they collect huge off of that fight, including a buyback on the Venge.
Yeah, really nice play, just overall, kind of dragging out the engagement. The swap back was nice onto the Spectre, but she survives long enough for them to do pretty critical damage elsewhere. So overall, feels really good for Kaipi. Sing survives throughout the whole thing, gets off a boatload of damage with the Veil and the Aether Lens ready. And yeah, it feels really good for Kaipi at this point. They still yet to take these tier 1s, but I think the major facet of this advantage that they're gaining is in the supports. I mean, these are 2 supports on NL5 side that really would love to have not just farm, but levels. I mean, they don't even have a level 2 swap to deal with the Batrider just yet, and we've yet to see a lassoed target be swapped out. And I mean, now we're talking 20 minutes in the game with only a point booster on this Night Stalker, and he may look to get even a bit poorer. He's going to be put up on the cliff. Flame Break's going to cancel the TP, but it will knock him down. This is going to mean Bambo is actually in a lot of trouble. So Bambo will end up dropping here. It's going to be essentially a wasted lasso, but as he respawns, it will be available once again, and could have been perhaps better used in that mid lane towards the Ember Spirit, but either way, it's going to be a nice little pick for NL5. Regardless, as I had mentioned before, it just feels like all in all, NL5 are definitely far enough behind for Kaipi to feel pretty comfortable here, but they are going to jump into the Roche pit with the Wave of Terror and the units, as well as the physical damage from this Juggernaut. Should be able to bring this down fairly quickly. We'll see what the response is from Kaipi. It's 40 seconds until a Thunder God's Wrath, though, and they'll have their smoke pop by Rune. They know they're in the pit. Haunt is going to come out. Roche still at 25% HP. Remnant Forward is going to catch a few. Omnislash is going to be fairly underwhelming for the Juggernaut, and a Death Ward on the high ground doing work for two. Come with me, you dog. Doing it again in this one. Radiance freshly picked up from Bone 7. Arc Lightning double kill for Sing Sing. And Come with me, beasting all series long. First on the Lina, then on the Witch Doctor now with the reveal of that Glimmer Cape. And this should mean a Roshan for a lineup that is terrible at taking Rosh and taken away from a lineup that really relies on it, especially considering the state of the game, to have it for their lineup to continue to defend their structures. And now with an extra level, you can mount a push as Kaipi towards at least these tier 1s and likely take them uncontested.
That even looked pretty decent for the NL5 squad. They had a double damage Ember Spirit, intercepted 2 heroes, jumped on them with the Remnants, so was getting pretty much as much damage as a level 12 Ember Spirit can do in that situation. But the Haunt was used there, and that was really what put the nail in the coffin. Just bypassed everyone there from the NL5 squad, got to the back lines, and then all that damage was just completely wasted. Mikelorus now in a little bit of trouble, is being stalked by an invisible Bat Rider and a cow. Not a good combination for a Nature's Prophet. He'll get hit with the Thunder God's Wrath as well, and he'll burn or get whacked down. Either way, Nature's Prophet is going to take a spill. Again, another pick-off here for the Kaipi side, and their lead is just getting kind of scary at this point. 7,500 gold, 10k plus in the experience advantage right now. Maybe you would expect the gold to be a little bit more in favor of the Kaipi squad, but the fact of the matter is they have the gold on the right heroes. They have the gold on the Spectre, and that's really all they want at this stage. Haunt is going to be breaking some backs very shortly. Pubber is going to get jumped over towards mid. Spin is not going to save him versus the charge, although it will force Mad away. We can see how confident Kaipi are playing here without having their Haunt, without having their Lasso. They're just banking on the fact that NL5 will be scared. Mad, though, is going to run right into a smoke, gets Force Staff down to the low ground, where he's actually immune to being hit right now. Now the Omnislash is going to bounce through mostly onto the Haunt illusions, yet they'll still take down the Night Stalker. Now chasing forward for Zayak, they'll burn the Vengeful Spirit down, and now they have the last target in their sights. It's Pubber, who's going to try to run away. He has no TP with Come With Me right on his tail. Death Ward time, and it's once again going to get another kill, although this time it's going to be stolen. I think Witch Doctor deserves a little bit more here. It's still 3-0 in favor of Kaipi, and that is going to be just a devastating blow to NL5.
Just disgusted by Sing Sing there, not giving the kill to Come With Me, but I mean, he's level 17 on this Zeus right now. That is, I think, 4 levels ahead of the nearest enemy core. But Mad top lane, we'll find Rune. Don't know if they really have the kill potential here. Lasso is available, though. He's going to stick around. Bambo closing in. Force Staff, jump forward. The Blink Dagger is there. Do they have enough damage? They don't have a Thunder God's Wrath. They don't have the mana for it on the Zeus, and Rune would have died to it. But wow, they get through with the charge. And they'll find him regardless. This Ember Spear going to be off the map for 45 seconds. I mean, we talked about how difficult it is for this lineup to push towers, but if all your heroes are dead, and it certainly seems to be going in that direction, and your buildings are going to fall, whether slowly or not.
Force Staff Spirit Breaker is not exactly super common. But man, if he keeps using it like that, like saved him on the bottom lane engagement just by Force Staffing into the trees, then Force Staffed him just close enough so that the charge wasn't needed for a lot of distance to kill off that Ember Spirit before the TP can stick. Bone 7 in the meantime is going to take down the tier 1 up towards top lane with another Haunt in 20 seconds. And well, another Lasso in about that same time. NL5, it's going to get more and more difficult for them to actually find farm. And this is something that you would not really expect to have happen in this type of draft when you have a Night Stalker and when you have a Nature's Prophet and an Ember Spirit. Like, great split pushing heroes. It seems like, oh, Pubber is going to get Death Warded yet again. He's going to spin off most of the damage from the Zeus. So that Zeus will have to blink in to commit. Or just Thunder God's Wrath. Jeez. Okay, that was a Veil level 3 ultimate. And now they're going to dive into the back end with the Haunt. That's going to kill off a couple more. Mad is going to go all the way in, but already the casualties have been had. NL5 are going to tap out. I guess you don't need to kill towers, right? If you just demoralize the enemy to GG
There
out.
it is. I mean, it's not too often that you see someone tap with 5 outer tier, or 4, I should say, outer tier towers still available. All the tier 2s, 1 tier 1 in the off lane, but I mean, I felt like there was some potential for the high ground. But Rune dying there top lane, I mean, it being 25 minutes in and him still 1,200-ish gold away from a Battle Fury. It was definitely a grim situation. Spectre very farmed. Zeus, you saw it there. Veil plus the level 3 ult killing off the Juggernaut. So, I mean, we mentioned it, kind of the only way that Kaipi were going to come out of this was with a very big early advantage, and they kind of took it from the lane. So I think I want to point to that more than anything for really the blunder from NL5. I think
Mhm.
putting the Night Stalker in the off lane and leaving Pubber vulnerable early on, getting Bambo those early levels, they just got too far behind in the experience game and were not nearly as potent in the fights. And Come With Me, able to find some time in the lane on the Witch Doctor, did tons of work with his extra levels. And, Vengeful Spirit never even really getting her level 11 all game long, was never able to save a lasso target. So that's what you draft her for to some extent, and she's unable to perform in that aspect.
And also just like an argument for tapping out there. What Kaipi are doing to get these pickoffs isn't exactly going to be a lot harder to do once the tier
Yeah.
2s actually fall. So it's not like they can rely on a high ground defense NL5. Kaipi will still be able to haunt in, kill off a couple heroes. Zeus with the global power is clearly doing enough damage to get free picks himself. So everyone on Kaipi will still be fully functioning all the way until the tier 3s and even after the tier 3s and Rax's fall. So NL5 just saving everyone a lot of time, I suppose. 25-minute victory here for Kaipi, and we're going to a game 3. We'll see who is able to take it. Guys, I'm Mikelorus. I've been joined by Mrpdota. Game 3 to decide who's going to stay in this tournament is going to be coming up in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere.